Ferguson, Missouri now, where police are searching for the gunman who shot two police officers during a protest outside of the Ferguson Police Headquarters early this morning. Police say the officers, who were from departments just outside of Ferguson, suffered non-life-threatening injuries and were released from the hospital today. But St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmar says the shooting could easily have resulted in two deaths, similar to the shooting deaths of NYPD officers Wenjian Liu and Rafael Ramos back in December.
The Webster Groves officer is shot right here at the high point of your cheek, right under the right eye, and the bullet lodges right behind his ear. The St. Louis County officer was struck right here on the shoulder.
Local and national civil rights leaders are condemning the shootings, as is U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder.
What happened last night was a pure ambush. What happened last night was a pure ambush. This was not someone trying to bring healing to Ferguson. This was a damn punk who was trying to sow discord in an area that is trying to get its act together and trying to bring together a community that has been fractured for too long. And I stand ready to offer the full investigative resources of the United States Department of Justice, the FBI, to solve this crime and to hold these perpetrators fully accountable.
President Obama adding that his thoughts and prayers are with the officers who were shot. The shootings came as protesters in Ferguson celebrated news that the city's police chief, Tom Jackson, was resigning. Jackson's resignation coming a week after the Justice Department released that scathing report highlighting racial biases within the department against the city's African-American population. Controversy out of Ferguson followed the police-related death of 18-year-old Michael Brown. It has raised awareness about police-related deaths across the country. And on Wednesday, Valerie Bell, the mother of Sean Bell, who was killed in a hail of bullets fired by NYPD officers in 2006 on his wedding day, or the night before his wedding day, spoke before state lawmakers. Bell is calling on Governor Cuomo to establish a special prosecutor's office under the Attorney General to investigate similar cases. Let me go back to Ferguson. And obviously the incident that happened last night, it's still being investigated. We still don't know that much about it. There are aspects of Ferguson everywhere. I think we can safely say all over the country. But let's use Ferguson as a model, or at least the focus for right now. If you could make unilateral changes to either the government or the police or the community, what would you do?
I'd make Eric Holder go away.
You're really blaming this all on Eric Holder?
Is Eric Holder going to resign already? He said he was going to resign. Eric Holder has been persecuting this town. He's waiting for
Republicans in the Senate to approve his successor, which they're holding up.
He's been persecuting this town. He tried two civil suits. You have a shooting in the town. It was an unfortunate shooting. It was an awful thing that happened. So Holder jumps all over it. He tries two civil suits against the town. They back up the police department, the suits. So then he starts attacking the town with rhetoric, and you get two cops being shot.
What are you talking about?
This is a town of 27,000 people.
He made a decision that the officer would not be charged federally because the law didn't justify it. Then he did.
Which probably killed him.
Then he did a thorough investigation of the practices of this town, where black folk were stopped, ticketed, jailed, beaten, and mistreated across the board.
He lost in the civil suit, so he was embarrassed, and he went.
You forgot the dogs. The only people that have been bitten by the police dogs are black people.
And that no one's disputing those facts. Not even your guys are disputing those facts.
And all of that happened before Eric Holder started this investigation.
And the guy worth attacking is Eric Holder, not the people.
You left out the emails. You left out the emails. And you forgot the emails about President Obama.
I made my point. When you decide to try to change the subject from a corrupt, racist government.
It's not a racist government. You have white officers in a town. Big deal. It's a town of 27,000. Maybe there should be more black officers there, but you can't say that a white officer can't do his job.
Don't put words in my mouth. I never said a white officer couldn't do the job. White officers can be perfully non-racist. In fact, these guys were.
Holder didn't get through with the civil suit. He was embarrassed, and so he filed the report, a hit job on that town.
You don't think that report's accurate?
There's a hit job on that town, and now you got two cops shot.
You don't think that report's accurate?
I think that you can take a good writer, a good PR writer, can take anything and make it sound like
so. It was
all right, let me pivot this back to try to figure out the positive outcome out of all this. Dominic, we'll give Richard a chance to cool off. What change would you? down boy. What changes would you make in Ferguson if you could make changes either to the police department or the government or community changes?
So right now, I'm not going to say this about Mr. Brodsky.
No.
I love my man Bill O'Reilly.
He's going to blast
Bill
me now.
O'Reilly. No, I'm not going to blast you.
He turned into the bad Bill O'Reilly right before our eyes. There it is. You might
That's
as well-
that's really unfair. That's really unfair.
I love Bill O'Reilly because he has a heart of gold. And with all due
I was
respect,
doing so well with you tonight.
with all due respect,
Back to the president.
I cannot believe that Mr. O'Reilly believes what he just uttered.
Wholeheartedly.
Now, okay, you can accuse Holder of being political, but if he had not come down with this report, we would have never been exposed to what was really going on in the city of Ferguson.
Yeah, there are thousands of cities around the country, and if the feds want to come in
Same
and make
thing.
a city look like garbage, they'll come in there and do it.
So I
now
guess,
you got two cops.
but I guess Holder wrote the racist emails.
I'm not saying I don't know that much about Ferguson. I'm not saying it's a perfect
Okay.
town. You can go into any town and find problems.
No,
I think
hang
that's
on.
what it is.
That's
That's not America.
It's a town of 27,000. Like, he's picking on this town
But-
because they couldn't get the conviction.
But Bill, if you could investigate to that level any town in the country and find similar things, that indicates that the problem's not just a Ferguson problem, that there is a wider police-community relation problems, and especially a wider problem between police in the United States and communities of
They're
color
finding that there's
in the
a
United
disproportionate
States.
number of white
No,
officers
that's
in a largely African-American town.
That's not what the report says. The report says that they're beating people, they're jailing them, they're arresting them, they're mistreating them across the board. That's what the report says.
And using the fees and the penalties to prop up the government and
And
basically keep
don't
the
forget
government.
fixing tickets for their
stop helping
friends.
me. Stop
Don't
helping
help
me.
you?
Don't
So-
help me.
so-
I can't. I don't want to attack.
No,
Bill.
but I-
so,
I-
so,
go
ahead.
so,
I'm
hold on,
trying to
hold on, hold on.
find the piece. I'm trying to
The
find
piece
solutions.
is this. The
No
piece is
solution.
this. Okay. The piece is this. And as the brother at the table, I'm going to put it out there. The piece is this. Number one, the Attorney General said punk, thug, any other bad word you can come up
The
with.
shooters from last night.
The shooter or shooters from
Right.
last night. They need to be arrested, and they need to be removed from the community for life. Those officers could have lost their lives, and thank God they've gone home. So that's number one. Number two, step in the right direction. The police commissioner, police chief, whatever, I call him Barney Fife. He has to go. From day one, he shouldn't have been there.
And he's gone.
He's gone.
He's
Okay,
gone.
right, but he didn't leave on his own will. I mean, ultimately, he was pushed, kicking and screaming out the door.
Or he said, "The heck with this! I'm getting out of here. I'm
Well,
not putting up with this anymore."
I think he was more pushed and pushed out the door, kicking and screaming.
His number two is basically taking his place.
Okay,
Should they-
but let me just finish here. I want to deal with the other. So you got to have a complete changing of the guard there. But now I'm going to talk about the black side, okay? And I get in trouble in some African American circles. Black on black crime. Don't look at me like that, Brodsky. It has to stop. It's out of control.
White on black crime. So does black on white crime.
It's alarming. Look at the video from here in New York and Brooklyn at that McDonald's where those young ladies, a gang, are attacking. Let me just
hang on,
finish.
Richard,
You
hang on.
argue
Richard,
that
hang
there's
on.
something worse when a black person attacks another black person than when a black person attacks a white
No,
person?
what I am saying to you is that, for example, I was talking to my best friend who was NYPD. He's now a police officer in Atlanta, and he's African American. He grew up in the hood just like me. And he said to me, Dominic, we don't want, meaning black cops, we don't want to patrol the hood just like the white cops don't want to. And you know why? He said, because it's nothing but problems from the start of your shift to the end of your shift. And so we want equal protection under the law. But officers, you know, when all you're doing is dealing with one bad problem after another, Brodsky, I'll be done in 10 seconds. One bad problem after another, it makes a police officer's job very difficult.
I am caught between a guy who says that there's nothing really wrong going on at Ferguson and a guy who says that the race of the victim somehow matters as to the seriousness of the grievance.
It matters
Is
the
there-
moment.
is
Wait,
there
Mr. Brodsky.
no-
Wait, Mr. Brodsky. The race of the victim, it doesn't matter the moment a police officer pulls you over? In my world, it does.
When one talks about certain kinds of crime being
Right.
worse than other kinds of crime because of the race of the victim, one has set up a new standard. Look, Dr. King talked about being judged by the content of our character. That's true when your character is good, and that's true when your character is lousy. That there's been bad policing, and not just minor bad policing, but big bad policing is true. You're wrong. The
you
nature of the victim matters. You're wrong.
Would you
Bill,
say
last
though?
word.
Would you say though that the bad policing, incidents of bad policing, like the Ferguson report, happen in areas where there's inner city violence? That's what we're talking about. When you have inner city violence in an area,
Well, I think that
you end up with police hittings or the dog stuff.
Inner city means what?
Inner city means minority, means black on black crime, and a lot of the instances.
And I think just to wrap this up, I think that actually
not always.
I think that speaks to Dominic's point to a certain degree, where if you reduce the crime in those neighborhoods, you would have less need for patrolling, less need for stopping.
I know
You have
you're
less
about to move on,
incidents of
Andrew.
police brutality.
Black leaders are not talking about black on black crime because it's not cool. It's not. But they should. Because it's at alarming rates. Kids are not getting their education. High school graduation rates in communities of color are under 40%. It's outrageous. And something has to be done about it.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to pivot from a local government in crisis to a question of confidence in government overall. Is it a lost cause? Tell you where a majority of Americans stand when it comes to the Supreme Court, Congress, and even the president. The numbers may startle you. Stay with us.